This portion of Lee Pitts Live is brought to you by Hodges University, educating the leaders of our community for over 20 years.
Good morning, Southwest Florida. I know you've heard about it, you've read about it. Yes, it's true, and he's here in the studio. An exclusive interview with the new county manager for Lee County government, Roger Desjarlais, is our first guest on the show. In the second part of the show, we'll get a chance to talk to Gary Bostic, and we'll talk to Ms. Strong. She's the president and chairman of the Teen Advisory Council. I called her Ms. Strong because I didn't want to mess up her name. I think it's Desjarlais. And Gary Bostic, of course, is a senior recreation manager for Fort Myers Recreation Division. Woo! Of course, I'm Lee Pitts, the host of the show, and I'm going to get right to it. We'll be right back.
Congratulations to Lee Pitts Live, recipient of the NAACP Image Award.
Welcome back, Southwest Florida. I know you guys say, how in the heck do you get Roger Desjarlais on the show so quickly? Well, Roger Desjarlais, the county manager, did inform me that this is probably his first time really doing a sit down like this in detail. So I'm delighted to have him here. We go back a long ways. He was on Lee Pitts Live back in the old days when he was, I think, assistant county manager here in Fort Myers back in the early 90s. And so we're just delighted to have that connection so I can make a phone call and get the county manager in here. He's a busy man running the entire Lee County. So without further ado, Roger Desjarlais, welcome to the show. Let's do our traditional bump.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Last time I saw you, we were in a grocery store. You were not the county manager at the time.
Not yet.
And I told you with no doubt, I said, you're going to get that job. You probably thought, well, Lee, it's not that easy. You know, I got to go. But sure enough, there you are, man. So I take full responsibility for you getting that job.
You know, well, I'm certain that I would not have gotten that job without your help.
Okay. I made a few phone calls, let's just say. County manager, now, was that correct? Your previous stint here, you were assistant county manager?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Right, and I think that was Don Steelware was the manager at the time.
He was. Okay,
tell me about that big difference in being an assistant county manager and being the head guy, the county manager. Big leap forward in terms of responsibility?
Well, sure. As the assistant county manager, you know, you're responsible for managing a portion of the organization and reporting to the county manager and supporting him. In this case, it's about working for the 5 elected officials who are the county commissioners and helping them implement policy and goals. Mm-hmm.
Now, if we sit here right now taping this show, you're about, 2 months into the job?
Just about, yes.
Okay, tell me what, just trying to get behind the scenes of that type of daunting responsibility. What are some of the first things you try to get in place to get your feet wet when you started that position?
Well, given the timing of this start was, the beginning of July, and we have to have a budget in place by October 1st, we had to build a budget over a 2-month period of time. But that's past us now, and that was the first big task, and that really took all of our time to make that happen. Mm-hmm. Going forward, though, it's all about getting the board to tell us what it is they'd like to have happen over the next 5 years or so that we can turn that into a business plan.
Mm-hmm. And for the education of our viewers and understanding the county manager's role, you have the county commissioners who set policy, and you as a county manager, you pretty much carry out their policy to what they like to see take place by way of votes and so on?
That's the way it's supposed to work. The electeds are supposed to interpret the needs of the community, and they tell the staff, they tell us what that means in the way of policy. For example, if the board were to say the very most important thing that we do is about economic development or creation of jobs or the environment, pick a topic. Our job is to then go away, create a business plan that will then tell them if we do the following projects, provide the following services, here's how much it costs, here's when we're going to deliver all of that. That's the business plan that we bring back. So they're about policy and we're about execution.
Mm-hmm. When you sat down to do that budget, and as always, you have to make some critical decisions in doing budgets. What was glaring in terms of areas that needed some cutting and areas that needed some improvement in terms of more dollars as it related to the forward movement of Lee County government?
Well, Lee, in this case, it wasn't about more dollars, it was actually about less dollars. As you know, we're just coming out of a very difficult economy. the county has been dealing with a $34 million deficit for the last 4 years. So we had to eliminate that deficit and then sort of begin anew. So we did. We had to cut some services, and we cut about $20 million of spending. And so now we'll get into 2014 with a balanced budget and no deficit, and without having to go to reserves. So now it's just about what's next.
Okay, let's talk about some of those cuts and what the citizens of Lee County how would it impact the citizens of Lee County, the major cuts?
Well, we had no major cuts. We really have no significant impact negative impact on the residents of Lee County. We're seeing reductions in the area of Parks and Recreation, extension service. We see some reductions in spending in emergency medical service, and DOT. It was actually spread across all of the departments throughout Lee County.
Mm-hmm. Talk about the impact of, say, a company like Hertz relocating their headquarters to the Lee County area. How does that change the way people see Lee County around the world?
Well, as everyone knows, that relocation of the world headquarters was a big deal for Lee County. There were lots of incentive dollars that were provided. Interesting to note that all of those incentive dollars will be paid back to Lee County over a 5-year period, given the amount of property taxes that they're going to pay, but more importantly, the number of jobs that they're going to create, and high-paying jobs. So they'll create about 700 new jobs in Lee County, which of course, is great coming out of this difficult economy.
Mentioning coming out of the difficult economy, of course, Lee County saw some substantial growth. 5 years ago, we were booming. Maybe 6 years ago, then we had the downturn. Are we on the tick up now? And what are some barometers that we're looking at to know that we're having a tick up?
So things to watch for are property values. This year, the property values are up by about 2.5%. We would expect to see more next year. The unemployment is down to about 7.5% as of just last week. And unemployment was up around the 8-10% over the last couple of years. So unemployment rate coming down, property values coming up. Tourism is strong. We saw a 7% increase in the amount of tourist tax dollars paid over this last year, and tourism is doing very well.
Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts around the county crime in general as a manager? The high rate of crime that we're seeing in Lee County, how did that impact Lee County in terms of attracting businesses here, the public image, and so on and so forth, as you go out and market Lee County to other parts of the region?
Lee, I think what's important about that is, to number one, in Lee County in general, the crime rate is not up. Actually, the crime rate is down in the unincorporated areas of Lee County. We've seen an unprecedented number of shootings within the city of Fort Myers, but that because the tourism industry is doing well with the Hertz relocation and property values on the rise, I don't think it's had a significant impact, or at least not a negative impact. These crimes that we're seeing, these are people one-on-one crimes, and not so much the general public are random in nature.
Mm-hmm. Now, it would come across your desk, the whole discussion politically as it relates to whether or not to eliminate the City of Fort Myers Police Department as we know it and blend it into the county sheriff's office. Lee County Sheriff's Office just covers it all. What was your thought when you see those numbers?
Well, first of all, it does not come across my desk. This is about the people in the community voting to decide whether or not that's what they'd like to have happen. When I worked out the East Coast, I've seen the Sheriff's Office contract with cities to provide law enforcement services. Sometimes it works well, and sometimes it doesn't. It's really, this is a relationship, if it forms, between the Sheriff's Office and the City of Fort Myers. And really,
it wouldn't come across, so the Sheriff's Office budget doesn't roll up through the county government?
Well, the sheriff gets his budget from the county commission, the general fund dollars, which is property taxes. But if the sheriff does contract with the city to provide law enforcement, the city will then pay the sheriff's office whatever the value is of that service. Mm-hmm. So if it costs $20 million or $30 million, the city will simply have to pay for that.
Oh, understood. For the large part, we see Lee County as tourism. That's the main economic generator to Southwest Florida, particularly a large area like Lee County. Do you think that the there's enough diversity in terms of the different types of industry, that different ways that we're generating revenue for the city other than tourism, or do you foresee that we will do more diversity in terms of industry?
Well, actually, a lot of people would be surprised to know that our economy really is quite diverse right now. Tourism, of course, is a major player and will always be that way. We will always have sunshine and beaches and attract tourists. But otherwise, we have a large retail segment in our economy, a large service provider organization, service providers as part of the economy, and also development and construction. As the economy gets better, we're seeing more and more housing starts, and there's a greater demand for those in the trades.
Mm-hmm. When we have Sesame Street this for us, when we have a downturn in real estate values and we don't receive those types of tax dollars into the county's coffers, how does that, what kind of strain did that place on the budget?
In 2000, between 2007 and 2010, the county lost about 47% of its tax base. And the arithmetic gets easy after that. About 47% of the dollars were also lost. So that's when the county developed their deficit of $34 million. So it placed tremendous strain on the budget. But as mentioned earlier, this year the board just passed a budget that's in balance without going to reserves, and so now we're on the recovery. And interestingly, the county did reduce spending by about $100 million and about 400 positions during that period. But very few services were lost. People found better ways to operate and do more with less.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Lee County government and its relationship to our growing diverse community. Do you see opportunities within Lee County government where minority vendors, minority companies, and so on will get the opportunity to do business with what is essentially the largest operation in the area?
I think you and I had this conversation 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. This is a topic of conversation we're going to continue to have for a long time to come. There is always opportunity for more minority participation in doing business with Lee County government. It's always going to be a challenge, but we'll always aspire to do more and do better.
Is anything specifically in place? Any person contact? I mean, I know a lot of minorities who are watching this show right now. They're Hispanics, African Americans, and so on. I mean, they constantly tell me it's difficult for them to get the opportunity to do business with Lee County government. I know you're new in the job, but just
no. But it's the same here as it is elsewhere. We want people to compete, just like everyone has to compete. So it's important that if they want to do business with Lee County, contact our purchasing department, get on our vendors list so that they can receive the bids by email or by mail, like everyone else does, and compete.
Okay, we're gonna go to a break. We come back. We'll continue to talk to the county manager, Roger Desjarlais, right here on Lee Pitts Live.
Congratulations to Lee Pitts Live, recipient of the NAACP Image Award.
Welcome back to Southwest Florida. Again, we're delighted to have the county manager here. Essentially, he manages the entire county. How does it feel to have that title? County manager? Is it hit you yet? Lee County manager?
Lee, I've been doing this for a long time, but to have a job like this one, it's a privilege, especially to be able to do it in my own hometown. I've done it elsewhere, but my goal has always been to do it here.
You for the most part, you have a contract, right?
I do.
So the county managers are your bosses?
The county commissioners, yes.
County commissioners, right. And they are political animals. How do you, or is it impossible for you to not be involved in the political process of decisions that might be made?
Well, Lee, I'll tell you the same thing that I tell everyone who works for Lee County. It's important for us to be sensitive to the political issues, but not get involved with them. It's really the job of the elected officials to work politics. That's what they do. That's how the system works. It's not our job to be part of the politics.
Short and sweet, huh? The future, Lee County. Mm-hmm. If you were looking into the crystal ball, 5 years from now, when we look at Lee County as it relates to what your responsibilities are, what are some things that would be glaringly different, or you hope to see Lee County look like?
Well, Lee, 5 years from now, we're going to be financially stable. We're going to be growing. The county will be growing. The number of new housing starts will be up, and we'll have money to operate. We'll have a business plan that clearly defines our goals and missions. And so we won't have these annual arguments over how to spend the money. It will be predetermined throughout the year. It'll be a lot easier to do business.
Mm-hmm. How is Lee County viewed around the country when you talk to people or when you attend these different conferences? Do we have a good reputation and people look up to us?
Lee County has an excellent reputation, and it's clear by the amount of growth that we had during the early 90s in particular. We were one of the fastest growing counties in the country. People love Lee County.
Okay. Well, County Manager, we're going to bump you out. Got to get to some stuff happening at the Stars Complex. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Look forward to having you in the future. I want you to stay right there until we go to this break, okay? As the saying goes on this particular show, for those who say it can't be done, they're usually interrupted by those like Lee County Manager Roger Desjarlais, who are doing it. When we come back, we'll talk to Gary Bostic about that Wi-Fi calf at the Stars Complex right here on Lee Pitts Live.